just another night for Supernatural Girlz. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girlz.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting show, Supernatural Girlz. Here we are again. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, and I am here with my co-host all the way from Tucson, numerologist extraordinaire, Patricia Kirkman. PK, how you doing, PK?
Fabulous. You know, we've got a cool spell just starting.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
What's cool for you? About like 80?
About 70, between 70 and 80 this morning. It was like, It was much cooler than that, but it was so good to just put on a jacket.
I guess I wouldn't be putting on a jacket. And here in New England, that's like a heat wave for us, you know. But well, we did get, ours went up to, I think we were about 65, 70 today.
Oh, good for you.
And hey, listen, I have great news. The garlic has been planted. I am thrilled. That's one more thing I can check off the list because I had to get it done, you know, because you don't know what's coming around the corner in New England with snow or cold or nonsense.
True.
Had to get the garlic in.
Garlic is necessary.
It is. It's
more
the best.
Than just cooking.
I know. It's the best health food. I was reading somebody was mixing it with honey. They said mix chopped up garlic with honey. You take like a quarter teaspoon every day and heals your whole life. What can I tell you?
Well, you know, when you think about it, honey, along with anything, takes that edge off.
It sure does.
I would imagine that would be very interesting to give it a try, see what happens.
Yeah, you try it. I try it. We're going to report back to our audience.
Okay.
We're still alive from the garlic and honey.
No kisses, but we'll be there.
That's right. That's right. Oh, goodness. So, hey, we got more craziness going on, but it's kind of getting down to the wire here with election and all kinds of allegations being made and emails being reopened. So what's happening, PK? What do we got coming?
A mess, a big mess. That's what we've got coming. You know, the sad part about everything is they were talking today in the news that they're boycotting Ivanka's clothing business. Oh. She's not running for president, for crying out loud.
And she's got nice clothing.
Yes, she does. And it just doesn't make good sense, for God's sakes. I don't see them boycotting the other side for a lot of things.
We could say a lot about the dark side, couldn't we? But we won't.
It's too dark.
It's very dark. It's very dark. Well, I've been hearing a lot of stuff from my insiders, you know, the people that I know that are inside this mess.
Right.
And they all seem to be corroborating each other independently about a lot to be said about these emails and what they've uncovered. I guess it's pretty nasty stuff. It's not
Sounds
just
like it. Sounds
it's
like
not
it.
just confidential and classified things going back and forth. It's much more than that.
Well, I think what's happened is some people have got caught with their hands in the cookie jar, and now they have no choice but to fess up that this has been going on for a long time.
Yeah. Corruption to the nth degree. So tell us numerologically what's happening.
Well, right now, today's a 4-day, so it deals with a lot of details of things. Details and the need to put things in order. So there's going to be something that'll be probably coming out of today or tomorrow. That's going to be another one of those, oh my goodnesses. But it's today, people are fed up, they're sick, they're tired of the whole darn thing, and they just want it over with. Tomorrow, there's going to be a lot of change going on, and then they're going to start to feel somewhat sensitive about it, and then they're really going to try to talk other people into doing something about it. The most important part is that people have not put out there to help others. I had an email today from a friend that's in New York reminding me that I really need to vote if I haven't voted yet. But I'm getting it from people all over. But unfortunately, I'd have to say, I hate to say it, but I couldn't vote her way. But I will vote. Definitely.
Of course, everybody has the right to choose. So yeah, and it's gotten so contentious. But honest to God, I can't imagine voting for someone who if they do, God forbid, get elected, they're going to be impeached. They're going to be indicted, and they'll be impeached. I mean, what's the point of it?
Well, they're a lame duck right off the get-go. But then the bottom line is this. If they get elected, look at all the dirty tricks that can be handled, that they can get away with, that they can't. Well, they're getting away with it now, come to think of it. But this is just incredible when you start to look at what they're called and how they're looking back at things. And all of a sudden, the news people are now starting to say, well, maybe there was more we could have talked about before. Maybe we should have said some of this before.
Oh, boy, do they have egg on their face or what?
Oh, God, yeah. Looks like somebody got into their bank account and told them they have to fess up or pay up.
Exactly right. I mean, everybody's coming out and saying these are not journalists anymore. These are just paid shills, which is exactly what most of them are. So, yeah, they all have egg on their faces. They should. I mean, think about Watergate. That whole thing was broken by journalists.
True.
And where are journalists now? They're so busy trying to cover everything up for Hillary.
They're broken, trying to cover up. That's the whole point.
Exactly. They're owned. They're owned, baby. They are owned.
When they call it the mafia type situation, boy, this is just disgusting. And every day it's one more thing, and you keep thinking it can't get worse. But you're surprised it can.
It does. I know. The stuff that I was just reading on Above Top Secret, somebody did an interesting post there about the NYPD and the things they have. And how they had apparently told Comey, either you do something about this in a timely fashion and get those indictments, or we're going to go public with everything we have. And we have copies.
Well, that's good. And many of the people in the Secret Service and the FBI are threatening to go on strike if they don't get this thing taken care of. They don't want to be pulled into it. And none of them want to work for her anyway.
I know. Who can blame them? I mean, this has just gotten so far out of hand. That pendulum is swinging back the other way. So everybody buckle your seatbelts.
That Vincent Price movie years ago where the pendulum was going with this great big blade over the body. Well, that blade's been going over us as a population for a long time. I think it's time somebody pulled the cord.
I agree.
Stop that stuff.
Right. It's right. That's right. They have used and abused us. And it's time this all comes to an... I know everybody had sticker shock that has Obamacare. They got their premiums, and boy, didn't they fall right off their chairs. But we all knew this. I mean, people who understood what Obamacare really was.
Yeah, mess. In Arizona, it's gone up 116%.
There you go. There you go. This is your premiums will up. Yeah, right.
And that's because we're doing this so you can afford it. Most people are willing to pay the fine and penalty because it's cheaper than paying for the insurance.
Exactly.
It's pretty darn bad.
This is what's so interesting to me, and you and I were talking about this earlier, PK. None of this would have happened without Donald Trump.
True.
We had a weaker candidate or somebody that was along party lines. None of this stuff would have come out. He is, whether he knows it or not, I don't think he does, he's a true alchemist. So his energy gets into the mix and everything begins to transform. The truth comes out. All of these things that he predicted are now coming to pass. It's fascinating. And speaking of alchemy, we have a guest tonight who's excellent. Her name is Jenny Tyson, and she's going to be talking about alchemy. She's written a great book, which you and I both enjoyed reading, called Spiritual Alchemy, Scrying Spirit Communication, and Alchemical Wisdom. So we're going to be talking with Jenny tonight. She had quite a walk down the road here to transcend. So we're going to hear all of what she did, how she did it, how we can do something for ourselves. But certainly alchemy is the word of the day. And we got to give Trump some credit, whether you like him or you hate him. He's an alchemist. He's been able to transform so many things, whether he gets elected or not. He's the reason all this stuff's out in the open.
Well, there's been no dead bodies bouncing up because of him. I can't say that on the other side.
No, there's a long body count over there. That's for sure. Well, I do have some very funny paranormal news tonight. Now, if you want to see some other stories from paranormal news, then go to our Facebook page, Supernatural Girlz with a Z. I posted a whole bunch of them today. We've got some great ones up there, some videos, some articles. Take a look. And this one I thought was just too funny. Friends were taking a selfie, and they got photobombed by a ghost.
That's neat.
The picture is posted on our Facebook page. Now, it says you can get a lot of strange and weird stuff posted on Reddit, and one Reddit user shared the selfie photo that she took with her friend when they discovered the picture of the ghost, the photo of the ghost. And I'll tell you what, this is no Casper. This is a scary looking thing that they got a picture of. Now, she explained that they both don't smoke, it wasn't foggy, and they were outside where nothing could have caused a reflection. So they took the photo while sitting on a bench at a bus stop on a very quiet road near a forest. So the ghostly face only appears in one of over 15 pictures that they took. And take a look at it, everybody. It's a really scary picture, I'll tell you what. Yeah, gave me the chills when I saw it. So there's our paranormal news. And if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, go ahead and do it. This way you'll be in the know with every show that we've got coming up. Go to supernaturalgirlz.com and sign up for the Fringe Files, and you will get all the latest and greatest right from us to you. And we only send it out once a week. So we're not going to be clogging up your email box with nonsense. It's just about the show and a few words on the paranormal stuff that we find interesting, and we know you will too.
Definitely. And the nice thing is they can always go back and see previous shows or different things that they may find interesting.
That is a good point. We have everything archived. So if you missed a show, you can just go back there and download it and listen to it at your convenience. And you can even do it on your cell phone when you're driving. Take a listen to any of our shows from the past. They're all great because we've got great guests, right?
Definitely. Especially one this evening that's going to be very, very interesting.
I'm so excited to talk to Jenny. This is going to really be fun. And we're going to learn a lot, I know, because she's very knowledgeable since she went through it herself. This is not a kind of a book experience where somebody reads about it. She lived it. So
I found it so fascinating and, in a way, somewhat terrifying to think that she could go through all that.
I know it. I was scared reading the book. I was scared for her.
True. I felt giving her a badge of courage for going through all this.
I know it. So we're going to find out all about what really happened. So, excuse me, Jenny is an illustrator, writer, and a psychic medium. She is married to occult author Donald Tyson. She lives in Nova Scotia, Canada. And the name of her book, again, is Spiritual Alchemy, Scrying, Spirit Communication, and Alchemical Wisdom. Jenny, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here, but my gosh, first we got to start. What set you off on this perilous, and it was perilous, this perilous journey?
Well, this whole thing started kind of as an experiment. We were looking for some information about Dr. John Dee. Now, Dr. John Dee was an occultist and astrologer for Queen Elizabeth I. He lived in the 16th century, and his diary survived. We have quite a bit of information about him, actually, from that time. And my husband was doing a book project, and we decided to do. He wanted some information. We wanted some information. So I says, well, I'll make a spirit board, and let's see if we can try a session and see if we get anything. So that's what we started with, and so I made the board. It's a spirit communication board. It's kind of like it's an alphanumeric board, kind of on the same concept as a Ouija board, but this was made specifically for Dr. John Dee. And so we did the session, and it was kind of interesting. And then the last thing was we wanted some sort of Latin verification. So we wanted a Latin word because neither one of us speak Latin very well, and we figured we could look it up. Well, we got the letters I and V. And it was a code that turned out to be the number 4. The fourth letter is D, which is D's signature. D always used a Greek delta as his signature, and it's the letter D. It's the fourth letter of the alphabet. So that after that, it took Donald about 2 hours to all of a sudden have that aha experience. Oh my goodness, what was that? It was what we asked for. And I decided at that point I wanted to pursue this further. So I started looking into how could I communicate. I wasn't a medium. I didn't have any mediumship abilities at that time. So
you were intuitive. You just didn't speak to people that had passed or things like that, right?
No, I mean, compared to what I can do now, I really
there's a big difference in what you
there
can
is a huge difference. I was, understand. I was in my late 40s when this happened. I wasn't young, and going all that time, I'd really never had any kind of breakthrough experience, spiritually speaking, as far as spirit communication or anything else like that, even though I was seeking something like that. So anyways, I started using a radio, what's called a ghost box. It's basically a self-scanning radio that goes on scan all the time. And lo and behold, it worked for me. So after I got the ghost box, and then I tried to get back in touch again, and when I played it back, I realized that I was really talking to Dr. John D.
Wow.
It totally floored me.
Now, were you doing these things by yourself?
Oh yes. There's no one. I live out in the middle of nowhere. I'm in Cape Breton. I mean, I'm on an island within an island off the coast of Nova Scotia.
Gosh, so you're out in the middle of nowhere, girl.
I am out in the middle of nowhere.
You were looking for a friend, that's for sure.
Really?
And it wasn't too long after we moved up here from Halifax. Actually, we wanted to get out of the city. It was just I don't do cities at all.
Good for you. I don't even.
And so we came out and we bought some land and a house on the land. It's quite a nice little spot. But there's no groups around here to do anything like that with. So if I'm going to do something, any kind of experiment, I'm pretty much on my own. Unless it's with Donald, of course.
Right.
And so anyways, I was Dr. D wanted to help me spiritually and wanted me to help accomplish some of the goals and some of the things I was interested in. So he put me and Edward Kelley together. And Edward was just a fantastic spiritual teacher. And he taught me how to scry. He taught me very practical things about.
Wasn't Kelley the scryer when he worked with John D? Wasn't he the one that did that?
Yes, he was a professional. He was a professional psychic in the 16th century for Dr. John D.
And he was the one who taught you. Boy, it doesn't get any better than that, PK.
No, he was the best of the teachers.
Yeah.
Yes, he was very talented. But he made a lot of mistakes, and then he says, "I'm going to teach you so that you're not going to make the same mistakes that I did."
Oh, how nice.
Yeah,
definitely nice.
And also, when somebody is in spirit, they have a totally different perspective on things than we do when we're in a physical body. I mean, they have an eternal perspective on things. They have access to information that we can access it, but it's like we can just take the finest of threads, and it has to go through this maze of smoke, fog, gunk, that surrounds us. And if we can get that little thread outside of that, then we can perceive what's outside of that, outside of our own beliefs and thoughts and everything else that just sort of floats around us like a fog. And learning how to do that was, it didn't take long to learn the technique. It took a long time to master it, though. And I would say even 4 years later, I'm still working on mastering that.
Now, what do you use when you scry? Do you use a mirror?
I use one of three techniques now. Now initially I used just a plain old cosmetic type mirror, and I glued it to a piece of wood. And that's all I used. It wasn't anything fancy. It wasn't black. It wasn't a black mirror. He showed me how to angle the mirror in such a way that it reflected the ceiling, and it was absolutely perfect for scrying. It's the best tool. I mean, as far as the surface is concerned, you don't have the glare that you have in a black mirror. It completely, what he did completely takes the glare out of it, and it makes a really, really good medium. And you can use it day or night. It does not have to be dark in the room to see in that mirror. That mirror works really good. It's really good for daytime scrying. That was one of the things I really liked about it. Now, that was the first technique I learned. Then and when I look in there, I do actually see images. I actually see things. It takes about 5 minutes or so for the images to start to pop up. It's not clear. It's not the same thing as looking at a movie. It's foggy. It's foggy impressions. It looks like I'm looking through a cloud or something, but they're there. And I've tested it. I've tested it against what are called blind targets, because I'm trained in remote viewing as well. I've tested it against targets that I have just the number and I have to describe the target, and it seems to be it holds the same accuracy as just about any other psychic method, about 70% on a regular remote viewing. If I'm doing like associative remote viewing, it runs about 65%, a little bit lower, because it's a hit or miss type of thing.
Now, I have a question for you that just got texted to me. They want to know, did either John D. or Edward Kelley appear to you in the mirror when you were scrying?
Edward did, and I've actually, since that time, I wanted to get a photograph of it. And I found that I can make the images appear on the windows in the house when I'm outside.
Goodness gracious!
So I got it. I now have photographs of Edward Kelley.
Wow! How awesome!
As he appeared in the 16th century. And what I got with the photographs is pretty consistent with what I got in the mirror. Sometimes he has a beard, sometimes he didn't. At one time he had his hair shaved very short and clean faced, but I found out that was a image from a later life, and one that he was like more in tune with in the present time than the life in the 16th century. But it's still him. It's just him in a different body, that's all.
Now, as you progress down this path, I want to revisit something we talked about off the air, which is your health, because you had some serious health challenges.
Yes.
When you undertook this path that took you down a very perilous road for a whole year. Tell us a little bit about what health challenges you were facing.
I had some sinus problems that led to migraine, that were leading to migraine headaches. I wasn't really getting it treated or looked at, but it was I was having constant pain in my forehead, and frequent, really, really bad headaches on that side as well. And I also had we had a late spring blizzard that year, and I was outside shoveling. Our snowblower blew up as we were shoveling the driveway, as we were trying to clear the driveway, and I had to dig it out by hand. And we had about 3.5 feet of snow.
Oh wow!
Drifts. And it was that wet, heavy concrete spring snow. I'm sure you know. You're from New England. You know the type.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Unfortunately, I know it all too well. Yes, and I feel for you.
It's like trying to shovel cement for those of you who are.
Yeah, it's that wet side.
It is hard.
Than trying to shovel that stuff. You're right. So you shoveled it out yourself?
Yeah, and I messed up my hip doing it.
Ooh.
And
so
it was
pain in your head, pain in your hip. Oh God.
Yeah, I was having a lot of trouble with that hip. I was having trouble walking. It was interfering with work, and because my job is also fairly physical as well. So I was really kind of miserable at that time physically, but
well, and it's hard because I know this personally, when you don't feel well, when you've got pain, it's very debilitating. It kind of chips away at you every day. And,
Yes.
Even if you take a pain pill here or there or every day, it doesn't really take care of it. It just maybe deaden it a little bit for a little while. But when you're trying to do heavy duty spiritual alchemy like you were, on top of not feeling well, I was amazed. I was like, how in the world did you do it? Because oh my God, you really could have died.
Yeah. Now we're going into the initiation part of it here, and the initiation was a singular event. Edward had me fast like a day or so before the whole thing started, as the energy started to build up, and it's in writing the book and describing the experience, it's very, very difficult to do. Donald had me write it down immediately after he found out what happened. And, he says, if you don't write it down now, you will not be able to write it down later. You will forget it. And I did. And I'm glad I wrote most of that down, because I would have forgotten that. It's, it turns into kind of a blur afterwards of, it was a blur of pain and confusion. Because I was dead set. I was not in this world. And there were times where I wasn't even in my body.
It had to be terrifying.
It was. And the fear itself made the situation worse. Mm-hmm. It created like, you're familiar with the concept of thought forms, right?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thought forms happen instantly, and they happen continuously. We form them, and they form and perish in an instant. As we have beliefs, they're sort of like our yes man. They reinforce our beliefs and thoughts and everything about us from a spiritual side. We don't usually see them, but they're always there. Well, it got to the point where I couldn't tell what was thought form and what was Edward.
Oh, wow. So, and then you were also in tremendous pain, half in and out of your body.
Yeah. So
how did your husband handle that when you were going through all this?
He was freaking out. He was not a happy camper.
I would imagine.
I did not.
So.
Now remember, I was afraid because one of my biggest fears is losing my husband. So needless to say, that was a mighty nasty thought form that was going on there, and that was one of the thought forms that I was having to deal with. That was one of the shadows, constantly telling me that it was going to kill him if I said anything.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's scary.
Now, this was not. You've got to understand. This was not Edward's doing. Okay, this was not. Edward was trying to fight this, but he cannot impose himself on me. Gabriel, the angel, cannot force and impose himself on me. All they could do was to try to convince me to lay still until it was over with and not hurt anybody and not hurt myself. And my visual abilities were not normal at that time. It was like, when I was in my body, I was seeing flashes of lightning constantly.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah. And, it was just, the energy that was coming up and that was moving around, I could see it, and I couldn't see and it interfered with my physical sight. So, I mean, I could have walked right over the stairs and fallen down the stairs. I wouldn't have even seen them. Mm-hmm. So that's, they basically kept me from getting hurt. It was emotionally traumatic. But then once I realized, I had that breakthrough at the end that, oh my gosh, I am doing this to myself. I'm creating all this. And once I had that insight, it was gone just like that. Once I realized.
What a sense of freedom that must have been. Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to have to take a short break here. And we're going to come back. We're going to find out more about what happened, the Kundalini experience, and how everybody supported you through it so that you did survive it. Thank goodness you're here to tell the tale. And we also want to hear more about what each one of us needs to be aware of if we decide to go down this path. So you are listening to Supernatural Girlz Radio, everybody, and stay tuned. We will be right back.
listening to IRN, the Inception Radio Network, Chicago, Illinois.
You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
My name is Ezra, and I'm from thehighendorg. You've heard of medical marijuana, but who can you trust for proper guidance? Here at thehighendorg, we have all the information you need. Did you know that scientists have discovered cannabis can reduce inflammation, pain, and spasms? It's helped my patients reduce the symptoms of autoimmune diseases, PTSD, autism, and insomnia. A compound from hemp called CBD is doing wonders for intestinal issues, anxiety, and the nervous system. I sell this compound at thehighendorg. I've worked as a medical marijuana consultant and educator for the past 6 years, and here at thehighendorg, I can help you choose from the hundreds of cannabis strains and products and find the ones that are best for your needs. To learn more about cannabis, schedule a Skype or phone consultation, or to have a CBD product shipped right to your door, visit thehighendorg. That's the high end, all one word, .org. I'll help make your health high-end.
Hi, can you hear my voice? Imagine how many other people can hear it too. If you have advertising needs, then look no further. The Inception Radio Network currently has openings for on-air advertisements and radio show sponsorships. Given any thought to your target demographic? Inception has you covered there too. Advertising on a network gives you multiple opportunities to advertise on a wide variety of radio show broadcasts, and we have one to fit every advertising need. You know, in recent years, internet radio has exhibited a phenomenal listener growth. An Arbitron Edison survey shows that online radio boosts at least 33 million unique visitors each week and 54 million each month. And that number amazingly continues to grow. And these listeners are a part of many businesses' core demographics. And surveys have shown that internet radio listeners are far more likely than regular radio listeners to spend money on a whole range of activities. You know, internet listeners vote, they dine out and eat fast food, and they grab a cup of coffee. And here's the interesting one. They buy items online at a much higher rate than all other market segments combined. Internet radio also enables businesses to connect with consumers during work hours, where increasingly more lifestyle decisions are being made. Advertise with the best. The Inception Radio Network offers competitive advertising rates to fit just about anyone's advertising budget. Stop by today at www.inceptionradionetwork.com or call us toll-free at 1-888-919-2355. Get the word out. Get results with the Inception Radio Network.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are you getting screwed on your property taxes? How to find out and how to fix it. Available on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I am your host, Patricia Baker, and I'm here with my co-host, PK, and our amazing guest tonight, Jenny Tyson. She's the author of a new book called Spiritual Alchemy, Scrying, Spirit Communication, and Alchemical Wisdom. And she's been on quite the journey. We are learning all about it tonight. And Jenny, before we go on with your story, I've got a couple of questions for you from the chat room.
Okay.
And this is from Para Abnormal. Is this something you are still dealing with or have fears about? Something about, will it return? So I guess what they're asking is, did your initiation put all of that to rest?
When you have the insight that you're generating and an unpleasant experience, that you're generating something that is causing you terror, once you have that insight, that disappears entirely. And it disappears, for me, it disappeared immediately. I have not had that fear since then, because I realized what I did to myself, and it was unpleasant enough that I'm not going to go do it again. I'm going to really try to avoid doing that to myself again, because that wasn't fun.
Hey, that's right. Good for you.
That's cute. And I have ways of checking now. See, I developed sort of a self-checking system, that a feedback system that allows me to give myself feedback by doing time displacement. Like media, they're like a mediumship, like a mediumistic session, except it's with myself, and it's with myself from the past and future.
Wow, that
has to be interesting.
Yes.
You got to understand that in spirits, and this includes you, that spirits, there is no time. Every moment occurs in an instant and in eternity. Every moment of every life, of every spirit that exists, occurs in a moment in eternity. And it's both eternity and the moment at the same time. I know, this is really hard to get your head around.
Well, it is, because you've had the actual experience in the present moment, where we're just kind of on the sidelines here. But I know what you're saying is very important.
So, to give myself feedback, if I find out, like, I look for like verification of what's going on. So, like, if a spirit says something to me, I want to make sure I check it against, like, I keep track of what they say, and I check it against, like, if it's a prediction, I check it against the facts of the future. And then if I find that there's a mistake in there, then I send a message back to myself in the past, and that actually improves the accuracy of what your channeling. So, my channeling information, if I get something that isn't right, I make sure to send a message back to my past self and say, this message is not right. And as a result, because now and when I'm getting the channeled messages, I make sure that I'm open to my future self, giving my present self that message as to whether or not it was right or not.
That sounds like it takes quite a bit of skill.
Oh, I was going to say, my goodness.
Now, do you teach this technique to your students?
I keep It depends on the student. I don't like teach classes. I haven't really done any classes, so to speak. I do a lot of individual, like individual coaching.
Well, now that you're bringing that up, because I know I'm going to get this question next if I don't ask you and have you announce it, how can people get in touch with you, Jenny?
Oh, my email is probably the best way, and I'm going to, if it's okay with you, why don't we post that on your Facebook page?
Be happy to. Yes, because I know people always ask, how do I get in touch with the guests? Because sometimes they want to schedule a coaching session, or people are teaching classes. They want to sign up for a class. We want to make sure that people can reach you. So, yeah, send that to me and we'll post it right on our Facebook page. So we'll take care of that so people can reach you. Now, here's another question. This is from Trisha, and Trisha would like to know, how do we find reputable spiritual teachers that are open to giving personal guidance?
I would see, part of the issue here is that I really don't know anybody physically. Okay. I live in the middle of, I live up in Cape Breton. There's nobody here.
Lucky you.
We have a few people here. The closest town has one stoplight. And I thought that's a sizable town to me. So
able to find a spiritual teacher on the other side of the veil. So
on the other side of the veil. Okay, that.
Asking the same thing. You found Edward Kelley and John Dee, but how does somebody go about finding their spiritual teacher on the other side?
I would go with it. If you are comfortable with angels, that's always a good resource. Angels are always open and willing to help us and to teach us. That would be my recommendation. There's dozens of names, and depending on what system you look at. I worked with Gabriel for a really long time, and then and I've worked with like various teachers. I haven't just worked with just Edward. I've worked with somebody by the name of David Blackburn, and David's a really good teacher too. And I worked with Hubert Toffingarten, who's from Iceland. Is Iceland in the 19th century, I think. And I've worked with a couple of angels, Anael and Gabriel, and the one I work with right now, his name is Bainapur, and he's again from the. You see his name in the in some of John Dee's diaries, but I would go with an angel. And angels can use those, like the radio. I have on my YouTube channel, I have a couple of demonstrations how to use the radio to channel with.
That's good to know.
That's easy. Well, I don't know how many people have those old-fashioned radios anymore. Isn't it like an antique?
It's not an antique. It's just an AMF. It's just an AM/FM radio. You can use any radio, really. Even I'm even like if I want to drive somewhere, I've even used my car radio, scan with my car radio.
Really? Oh my God.
Car radios weren't great for that. I really like the car radio.
Oh my gosh.
Then you have to leave town.
We have to make sure that you have a place where you can get radio stations here, because we have a lot of hills here. So, there's a lot of places where you can't pick up analog radio. Right. But you can always go to shortwave. You can go to ham. If you don't have really good reception, ham radio is usually pretty good. You can always extend an antenna and get some. You have to have some noise on the radio in order to do the scanning the way I do. Now you can put it on a blank station and work on direct radio voice, but that's a little bit more advanced skill, and it's a little bit more difficult to do, and it takes a lot of practice to do that.
Now, you also talk in your book about the ghost box, and you've used those as well. And I've seen a number of them for sale out there. They're not inexpensive. Some of them are like $700-800.
Yes, I wouldn't I would not recommend putting out that much money for something like that. They have all kinds of strange setups now. Like when I started this, it was a PSB7. That's the only thing that was available. And then when I come back online, because I was offline for this whole time, and I really didn't come back online until about a year after the initiation experience. I didn't really come back online at all. And when I came back, all of a sudden there's this explosion of ghost boxes. And I'm like, what in the world is this?
Yeah.
And, I had my exposure to it was a friend of mine, Darren. He used it when he was doing an evocation, a grimoire evocation. He used a ghost box for the to catch the spirit's response. That's where I learned about it. And then all of a sudden there's YouTube channels and all kinds of stuff going on. I'm like, this is just insane. And I'm just sitting here with my little radio plunking away with the knob and everything. But when I tried out, I really like the manual tuning better because it allows the spirit to influence what you're doing. The ghost box that has an automated or canned sequence, phonetical sequence, I find it not to be as accurate a device. And even the ones that are very, very clear, that come up with very, very clear words, I have trouble. I have found that there's trouble with accuracy with those. Yeah. And I go beyond like wanting to hear my name said. When I go into a session, I want information. I want it to be specific. And, I'm very, very focused in my sessions. I don't go into a session with the ghost box and say, who's around me? Can you say my name? I'm like, if I said that to you, Patricia, say my name.
Yeah, that's it. It's like,
how are you? How's that make you
here? Yeah, exactly. But it's exciting. I mean, I think you're one of the very few people we've talked to on the show that you've made a strong connection with someone in, from the 16th century, 15, whatever it is, 17th, 16th century like that, who is so well known in this field. And both of these men, I mean, they're like stars of the Enochian language. They're the ones that brought it to fruition. And it's amazing that you've got, the only other person we had on the show, PK, was Robin Foy. Right. We had Robin on, from the Afterlife Investigations. And he had also made contact with his group with some very famous people from the past. And like you, they were able to get specific information, apports. Now, have you ever apports apports coming through?
No, we haven't. This is getting into my current work now. Before I was working very much up to the initiation and actually up to just a few months ago on the perceptive end of the spectrum. And now I'm working more on the expressive end of the spectrum where I'm able to produce things, where I'm a medium, where I'm becoming more and more of a physical medium. And this is the key to alchemy. Okay. This isn't just the key to spiritual alchemy. This is the key to alchemy, period. And
say it again. What's the key?
The key is physical alchemy and physical mediumship are in essence the same thing.
Okay.
You're doing different, you're accomplishing different goals, but in essence, it is the same. Huh. You are producing a physical phenomenon using spiritual forces.
Now, would you consider yourself a physical medium?
Not yet. I'm getting there.
You're getting there. Wow. All right. I know that's very rare.
It takes a lot of work is why it's rare.
I spend. You're on the trail here, Jenny. You are on it.
It's seriously, you have to practice, and you have to practice every single day, and you have to put in the time for it. I usually do a couple sessions a day. And wow. I work on the weekends. My schedule is I am the weekend warrior, and then the rest of the time I'm pretty much devoted to doing the psychic mediumship thing. So I'm very I'm going to say fortunate. I'm going to say blessed, both, because I can do that, because we are in a situation that we are in, where we are able to pursue our what our heart's desire is.
That's wonderful. Good for you, both of you. Now, I've got a question from Kalatu in the chat room, wants to know, is there a radio frequency that seems to be most responsive, or the number has some significance to it?
No, not really. I haven't found anything that's. I use whatever I can pick up. You have to pick up some voice on the radio in order for the ghost box methods to work. You have to have some radio reception. So you use whatever you can get. If you're in a fairly remote area, I would suggest using shortwave with the you're going to have an extended antenna to get anything. AM is good. I use FM because it's less staticky. So, it just depends on what your physical situation is and how many stations you can get. Go ahead.
That's great. So they'll have to figure that out, it sounds like. So, Klaatu, you're going to have to just try it and see what happens. And this is from Dargo Janus. He says, if everything exists in every moment, then are the spirits able to tap into their own past and potential lives all at once?
Yes.
Oh my.
Wow. That's cool.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And you can tap into that as well. Okay. As a medium, and everybody can do this, you can tap into the lives of any entity that ever existed or will exist in the future, including yourself. And you can tap into that, and you can send messages, you can actually influence your past, you can influence your future. The potential of this is unbelievable. And this was an insight that I got when Edward said, guess what, I'm coming to Earth. I'm going to be born as a baby. And this happened, like a year after the initiation, and I was like so upset with him.
Yeah, because you had gotten very close to him, right?
Yes,
it's like your best bud from the other side.
Yes, he is. And it took me a while to realize after that happened, it took me a while. And then I went to a workshop with, we have a group called the Atlantic Fellowship. It's a spinoff of the Edgar Cayce Foundation in Canada. Mm-hmm. And we have a group called the Atlantic Fellowship. And I listened to a speaker there who talked about the fact that there is no time and explained how time actually worked as a bubble and as a singular point, as a singularity. And after he said that, then I realized that I was thinking in a linear fashion when it came to spirits. And when you cannot think in a linear fashion, because spirits don't exist like that in linear, like we exist in linear time because we're cataloging experiences. It's a way of managing. It's a way of focusing and managing, our life experiences. But in our natural state, our most natural state, we don't exist in a linear time frame. We exist in an eternal time frame, which is both a singularity and eternity at the same time.
Now, I have tried to go back, and I've tried to tell myself, buy Microsoft stock. And somehow that message is not getting through, Jenny. So I'm not doing something. There's something I'm not doing right. But you're saying it's not, you can't think in a linear fashion. So that's probably what I'm doing wrong. I'm thinking linearly about this when you need to think more like it's all happening right now. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And also you have to get the connection. You have to learn how to make that connection to your past self. And that takes a little bit of practice. See, that's not something you can't just go. It's hard to just go and do that on an instant, because this is something that your physical mind kind of resists doing. You have some resistance to this, so you have to practice it. I ritualized it. I have a ritual practice that I do whenever I do, because I do psychic predictions for it's for applied precognition. So it's sports and financial markets that we do predictions for. And so, when I'm doing that, I make it a habit of making that connection back and forth. Your present self has to connect to your future self so that you get the feedback from the future. You have to be open to that feedback.
Right. But now, have you ever been able to go back into the past? Like, here I was trying to connect with myself 30 years ago or 20 years ago, whenever it was, to try to give myself a message, a financial message. Mm-hmm. But have you been able to go back in time and actually change something for yourself?
Yeah, I think so, because like when I started doing that, then all of a sudden my accuracy went up. Because we measure and track our accuracy, hits and misses. And I started seeing more hits. So I think that was from that influence. So it's something that I see in the present, but it was something that was influenced from the future. So when I'm in that future, then it'll be in the past, and that's now the past for that aspect of me.
Being able to go into that space, how does one start that?
When you're like when you're doing numerology, okay, you write down you when you're doing a prediction, when you open your intuition to do that prediction, open to your future self to give you feedback as to what you got right and what you got wrong. Okay, that's the first thing you do. Now you make your prediction, and then the event happens or it does not happen or whatever. Then after that event happens, you need to go back to that session. Okay, and you need to go through that session bit by bit in detail and say, I got this right, I got this wrong, I got this right, this is a hit, this is a miss, this is a hit, this is a miss. And you summarize that and you send that back to your past self. And you have to do that consistently. And over time, it'll improve. This is a technique that was taught by Lynn Buchanan. This is one of Lynn Buchanan's techniques. But we use it, but we also use it in applied precognition. Marty Rosenblatt, I don't know if you have ever spoken with him before or not.
No, Marty's hasn't been on our list.
Okay. But this is a technique that we use, that we use in applied precognition, because everything that we do there is either a hit or a miss. It is black and white. You cannot cheat. You cannot waffle.
Now, when you're doing these predictions, what are they about? Are they global? Are they for personal?
Most of them, it's usually stuff that I don't care about. All I care about is whether or not the prediction is improving my accuracy. I'm not into sports. I'm not interested in sports, and the financial markets. They're all American markets, so it's like Canadian markets are different, and it's to get into the American market, it would just be a big tangled mess for me. It's very difficult to do from here. So I would. I am actually predicting things that I really don't have, that I really don't get involved in, but it's the prediction itself that interests me.
I see. Very interesting. Now, does your husband participate with this as well?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't really like doing that kind of work very much. He is actually pretty good at it, even though he won't admit it. I went through the remote viewing protocol with him one time, and I mean, he nailed the target so perfectly the first time he did it. It was absolutely stunning, and he was like, "How did I do that?"
Some people just have that natural ability.
Yeah, and it can be learned. I mean, I am living proof that this can be learned, okay? Because I really did not have natural ability, to be honest with you.
That's amazing, because my goodness, look at you now. And you know what? I know our audience is thrilled to hear this, because there are a lot of people that have just a modicum of intuition, but they would love to take it to the next step. So you're giving them a lot of hope that can indeed happen for them. It's very exciting.
It is. And and it's so much fun when you just see that, and it's like you nail when you get that hit, it's just orgasmic. I really enjoy my hits.
All right. Well, look, hey, we got to take another short break, everybody. We are speaking with Jenny Tyson tonight, the author of Spiritual Alchemy, and you are listening to Supernatural Girlz Radio. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Listening to IRN, the Inception Radio Network, Chicago, Illinois.
Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Just a reminder that Inception Radio Network is on Twitter. Follow us at I_R_N and keep up to date about who's on tonight, what interviews they'll be doing, who's guest spotting, what topics they'll be covering. Tweet to us, tweet about us, retweet topics to your friends, and most importantly, never miss a great show again. That's I_R_N.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
My name is Ezra, and I'm from thehighend.org. You've heard of medical marijuana, but who can you trust for proper guidance? Here at thehighend.org, we have all the information you need. Did you know that scientists have discovered cannabis can reduce inflammation, pain, and spasms? It's helped my patients reduce the symptoms of autoimmune diseases, PTSD, autism, and insomnia. A compound from hemp called CBD is doing wonders for intestinal issues, anxiety, and the nervous system. I sell this compound at thehighend.org. I've worked as a medical marijuana consultant and educator for the past 6 years, and here at thehighend.org, I can help you choose from the hundreds of cannabis strains and products and find the ones that are best for your needs. To learn more about cannabis, schedule a Skype or phone consultation, or to have a CBD product shipped right to your door, visit thehighend.org. That's thehighend, all one word, .org. I'll help make your health high-end.
Hello, Inception Radio Network. Would you like your favorite show to be played again live on air? Well, now the choice is in your hands with IRN's live request portal, an easy way to request your favorite show with a simple click. IRN's live request portal now gives you exclusive access to all the shows. How easy is it? Simply type a show name or a guest name, click request, even write a dedication message, and that's it. Try it now. Simply visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com, click on the live request tab under the show menu. Now playing your favorite show is just a mouse click away.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With cosmic fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation.
Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.kosmicfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK, and our terrific guest tonight, Jenny Tyson, who is the author of a very exciting book, Spiritual Alchemy, Scrying, Spirit Communication, and Alchemical Wisdom. Jenny, we've got a couple more questions. We've got a lot of questions, actually, from the chat room for you. And this is from Denise. Denise says, I've used an old radio that scans stations and have received pretty neat EVPs. So, can I connect with angels this way, too?
You can connect with any spirit from any time, including your past and future self, using the radio.
Oh, you can do past and future self with the radio. How about that?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Now, you will not be conscious of it. It's going to be on a subconscious level that you won't remember this as a memory, as a physical memory, because you're part of the spirit, the physical body focuses memories only on the physical experience, pretty much, or its primary focus is on that. So you have to learn how to switch your focus to the spirit, and it doesn't naturally do that. It's a little bit hard to do that, and you have to have a certain concentration ability. You have to be able to get through the shadow, and then you have to have some sort of verification that you accomplish that. But you can speak with your future self. You can talk to your past lives, who you were in your past lives, which is
fascinating.
That's a way of working with your past lives.
Okay. But she can connect with angels that way, then.
Oh, yeah.
Touch with Gabriel or Michael or anybody. She could do it with the radio. You
can get anybody. You can get anything. You can get aliens. I get aliens on there. Because I'm kind of curious about other planets and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've actually spoken and it's on my I've actually got a playlist separated on my little YouTube channel. It's not I'll tell you right now, I'm not a videographer at all. This is a very plain channel. It's just for demonstration. It's very simple, but I have a little section on there just for ET extraterrestrial communications.
Cool.
That I've done. So you can
have to check that out.
You can get angels. You can get you probably could get demons, but I don't really want to go there.
Yeah.
There's enough of those running around without having to bring one in.
I'm trying to get away from that kind of thing. Yeah. Keep away from the shadows as much as possible. But angels are great, and actually, who was it? It was Anael, who was the first angel that I spoke to on that. I've spoken to Gabriel on that as well.
Excellent. Well, here's another question. This is from Dargo, wants to know, have you noticed if there has been any significant difference in the ease of contact between an Enochian heptarchy angel or with a human spirit such as Edward Kelley, or does it solely rely on just the individual connections between you and that specific spirit or entity?
I find that any connection on any given day just sort of depends on my mental state. You have to get through the shadow. You have to get through your shadow. This is an obstacle that all of us face, regardless of what we're doing. And there are some days when it's worse than others. It's just like radio interference. You have interference, a lot of interference one day, and then the next day you might get it clear as a bell. So I don't think that the inherent spirit itself, the inherent qualities of the spirit itself are all that different on that side between an angel and a human who is in their eternal state. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a lot of difference between them.
Okay.
Humans as spirits are almost as ancient as angels. I think we may even be as ancient as angels. I'm not sure. It may have all been created at one time. All spirits existed from day one. As I said, like it's eternity and it's in a moment. So we are both eternal, which means we don't have a beginning, we don't have an end, we're that part of that eternity.
Okay. Well, this is from Calexis.
That's a mind bender, right?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. This is from Calexis, who says, "Hi, Jenny. By definition, necromancers communicate with the dead. Have you ever thought yourself to be a necromancer?"
Necromancers operate. Technically, I would be considered that. Be considered a necromancer because I talk with people who are dead, but actually they're not dead. There's no death. They are still alive. So, am I a necromancer if I talk to Edward Kelley, and he's, how old is he now? 2 years old, as a human baby. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm talking to Edward Kelley of the 16th century, or actually Edward Kelley of the 20th century is. And Edward Kelley of the 20th century. So which Edward is the one that's considered the necromantic Edward? Which one's necromancy?
This is getting very complicated.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Let's focus on, why don't we focus on a more practical technique before we go, because I think that it is important to share some things. I do have some things I want to say about this. When you're using the radio is an okay means of communication when you're starting out. However, you should seek to be able to do this within internal channeling, as well. It is a beginning part of your spiritual development, but it is not the end all of spiritual development. Okay. The radio will lead you to becoming clairaudient, and if you work with it, eventually you will start to notice that you start hearing spirit voices and fans, and the sounds in the fans and the sound of static or other white noise. You'll start hearing. Have you ever heard like when your furnace, it sounds like voices?
Yeah.
Talking? Okay. Mm-hmm. That eventually develops. That faculty actually develops into clairaudience, and you will be able to distinguish the voices, and not only the voices, but you'll be able to distinguish words and what they're saying, whole conversations with that. That is, and developing the internal ability to communicate both on that level as well as beyond words, because spirits don't naturally use words because words are limiting, and a spirit conveys a lot of information at one time. Okay, it's the difference between, like, you take a tree, and if you say this is a tree, you have a certain picture in your mind, but if you go in there and say, well, this is a tall, thin, it's brown, it's rough, it tastes like wood, it has a texture, the leaves are prickly, you're getting a lot more information. And that's how spirit conveys information. It doesn't just convey an item, it conveys a lot of information about that item. More information than we can actually process, because it also includes the energetic qualities of that item. You need to learn how to communicate on that level as well. And that's very, very important to move beyond using physical toys, physical equipment, and going into that internal working to develop the ability to communicate at a deeper level.
Is it like a thought?
You're saying, right?
But is it like a thought as well? Is the entire? It's like when you think something, how you get the entire array. But is that what you get coming to you?
I get things on different levels depending on the situation. I can get words. I basically choose what level I want to communicate at. I can communicate on a verbal level. I can communicate with the radio still. I mean, I do that. I don't do that on my own work. Okay. The radio is for demonstration to show people how to do it, how to get started, just to get, because getting that first toehold on psychic skills, getting that first toehold's the hardest one. So if I have something concrete to show people, then you can have that early success and then build upon that success. But the eventual goal is internally communicating. And yes, it's like a thought, but it conveys a lot of information. It conveys energy. It conveys like atmosphere. It conveys everything, all the colors. You can even go down to a molecular level and energetic level on a micro, like a microscopic level, and look at things too. And that's, that could be spirits can communicate all that kind of information.
Now, you learn to do all of this through practice, but also, most importantly, through your initiation.
How to do it internally.
This initiation basically brought you to a whole other level of understanding and connection. And you did go through a Kundalini experience also, right?
Yes, I would probably describe that as a Kundalini experience. The primary, and the one thing I missed, because Edward kept on telling me, he says, this isn't the real Kundalini. What is the real Kundalini? And I realized at the end that the Kundalini isn't just about energy, it's about love. And love is the force of the universe. That is what this all boils down to. If you are moving towards love on the inside, then your psychic work will be more accurate. That's where all the information is, everything that you want to know is there, but you have to open to love to get to it.
Oh, okay.
And that's the insight. That's the insight of Kundalini. That's the insight of that experience. Kundalini, if you look at now I did look this up. This wasn't something I knew beforehand, but Kundalini is a marriage. It's a marriage ceremony. It's represented by a marriage ceremony, the uniting of male and female forces within the body. This marriage is a marriage of love. It's becoming one. It's not just, I'm sorry, that's a bad way to say it. It's not becoming one. It's realizing the unity. Okay? Because the unity is already there, but you get that insight. That insight is to that unity. And that unity, what is unity? It's attraction. Attraction is love. Okay, so all that is what the Kundalini is all about. So
now, when you had this experience, let me just ask you, because a lot of people have had tremendous heat running through their body. I know we had one woman on the show that said she felt like her blood was actually boiling. But what did it feel like to you?
It still does feel. I do feel warm. I guess I do feel warm when it starts getting boiled up, because that happens to me it happens to me pretty much on a nightly basis sometimes. I can say there's it's more of a, I don't know, more of a buzzing sensation to me than the heat. I got a little bit of the heat until the insight came. And then once I realized it and I started moving towards that love, then the symptom part of it, like the heat and the feeling of pressure and the feeling of buzzing and vibrating and all that stuff, all that just sort of kind of faded back a bit.
Okay. Interesting.
And
so you had your realization, then the symptoms of heat, etc., just back down. That's very interesting.
Yeah, but the realization has to be one of love. And when you if you start feeling that, if you start feeling this happening, move towards love, move towards that unity, move towards loving, and be open to being loved in any way, and to the universe, to the universe. Okay, this is so hard to describe.
You're doing very well, though. I mean, yes. We get it.
But to the universe, to the source, be open to being loved, and it's like, it starts, and it gets kind of like the love is so intense. It's like, wow, you're really kind of intense there, And it's like, oh my goodness, you really make me feel really, really good. Oh, wow.
I want to move towards that.
I kind of like this.
Sure. Yeah.
But
here's a question for you from Xanth. Okay. Xanth wants to know, how often do you get full verbal replies from spirits compared to other non-physical responses?
Oh, that's a good question, because I've never really paid that much attention to that. It depends on, it depends on my focus. It depends on what I'm doing. Like, I could seek a verbal response and I'll get a verbal response. If I want to find out something deep, or if I need more information than what a verbal response is going to give me, then I'll go that route.
So it has a lot to do with your intention then.
Yeah,
your intent. Okay.
I can move any direction I want to with it. I'm not passive. I am not passive by any means, and it doesn't make any difference. Everything's spiritual. I'm usually not. The only time I become passive is when we're having that time with the universe, with God, I guess you could say, having our time of realizing that unity, of spending time in that unity, and in that case, then I'm passive. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, I tend, Edward taught me to be very focused when I'm doing spiritual things. So, it just depends on, it's not something that I necessarily receive. It's something that I'm, I want this, then I open to it. So it's like I push forward to it, I focus to it, then I open.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's you decide what you want and how you want this message coming to you.
Exactly.
So you really do take charge. That's great.
You have to, otherwise you're going to get, like, if you're not specific in what your focus is, you're not going to get specific information. It's the only way you can get good information.
Yeah, and plus the spirit world is huge, and you can really get lost out there. So you do need to have a focus.
I guess so. Mm-hmm. You're dealing with eternity, and you're not just dealing with eternity. You're dealing with potentials as well. You have an infinite possibility both in the past and future. The present is the only moment that is that is right here right now. But everything else has potential, as well as like you. It's not really a timeline. It's just like, you have potentials. You have potentials as well as like realities. I don't know. How would you say that? That's really hard to explain.
And there's a lot to this, because I know there are alternate timelines, there's alternate universes, there's so much to take into consideration. But I guess that's what I like so much about what you're sharing tonight with people, is you put your intent out there, you decide what you're going after, and then you go and get it, rather than letting everything just kind of ambiguously come to you. You don't know what you're going to end up with if you do it that way.
Right. The trick is, one of the things that you have to learn to do whenever you're going for, whenever you're communicating with spirits, okay, whenever you're doing this, is that you have to set your intention, and then you have to back off and open, because if you cannot be in the aggressive mode, you cannot be in the pushing mode to where you're focusing in a direction. It feels like a direction. I'm just trying to describe it in such a way that you can get it.
Yes.
But you can't go in a direction and then receive anything. You have to set your direction, then back off completely and open without trying to move it any other way. And that's kind of difficult to do, because the tendency is, I want to move it towards the way I think that this should be.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, like, you're making a prediction. Okay, I want to focus on that prediction. Now, open to my past self, open to my future self for feedback, and open to the event. And I have to be completely neutral about it. That's why, if you have any knowledge of the event that you're looking for, it's very difficult to do that, because you're going to want to move in the direction of your belief. So your perceptions are going to follow that.
Right. Right. So that's
you have to be very careful with that.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. Now, let me go back to your initiation, because you did introduce to the audience the fact that you went into it with some serious, debilitating pain and health issues, but then you were healed. How did that happen?
Oh, I was, what day was it? I'm not, I wrote down things in a sequence in the book. I'm not guaranteeing that that's the exact sequence that happened. And I wrote it down. I kept it as best I could.
But I mean, was it, here's my, let me narrow down the question. Were you healed by Edward Kelley and John Dee, or were you healed by Gabriel? You know, did someone?
I really think it was like universe or God.
Okay.
Edward was there, and there were angels there, but I'm not sure who did it, to be honest with you. It was like the universe itself did it.
That's quite powerful. So you said that since this time, you haven't had any more migraines?
No.
No more sinus issues?
I was on 4 different medications for the migraines. I haven't taken any since that night.
Oh, my God.
This is 4 years later.
Beautiful.
This is 4 years. 4 years later.
Yeah, you have been healed for sure. That's amazing.
And my hip doesn't hurt either. That was a little slower to come along. It wasn't broken. The hip was not broken. I did get it x-rayed, but it was badly sprained. I mean, I had a lot of damage. I couldn't walk on it. And I couldn't hardly bear weight.
Sometimes a sprain or strain can be worse than an actual break, and it can take a lot longer to heal. Mm-hmm. But you're clear. You're now clear of all these things.
Yes.
Gosh, that's great.
Yeah, I have been, since that time I have been much healthier. I was also on blood pressure meds, and I haven't now. It sometimes it'll go up, like in the fall for some reason it tends to elevate, but I haven't been on much in the way of blood pressure meds either.
That's wonderful.
So that's I've pretty much been able to get rid of those. My thyroid fried because I did something bad to it magically. Yeah, that was a botched spell.
Oh, that's some kind of botching.
Oh, that was a while back. See, I did have some ability to do spell work. I didn't have any psychic ability. I couldn't tell what I was doing. I was doing this blind, which is not a good idea. But I did a spell to lose weight, and I tried to speed up my metabolism, and I did it. Only it burned out my thyroid.
Oh boy, not good. Not
Goodness.
good.
So I undid the spell, and it went back. The levels went back down. It affected my heart when I did that. I ended up in ICU a couple times with heart problems because of it.
Gosh.
Not good.
Yeah,
but I lost the weight.
I bet you did.
That's not a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Really.
After that, it burned.
Part. Go ahead. I'm sorry, dear.
I burnt my thyroid out doing that, and so it ended up going low, and now I have to take a supplement. But other than that, that was my own stupid fault.
I'm glad you got some support here to get it back to some semblance of normal. PK, you were going to say something?
Yeah, in the beginning of your book, you mentioned something, and I don't know if I'll pronounce it correctly, but it's tulpas, which are little dolls.
Tulpas.
That were used. Tulpas, yes.
Oh, we're going to talk about the homunculus. That's a fun topic. This is a generated. You know what a thought form is? Well, this is an intentionally made thought form that is programmed to do a specific task.
Oh.
That's what a homunculus is. A homunculus. You're generating a physical appearing action from spiritual energy.
Now, how is that different from like a voodoo doll?
No, it's not a doll. It's a spirit. It's a spirit entity.
It's just a spirit entity. Okay, so you're not actually using a doll or anything.
No, you're not use. You can represent it like a doll, but a tulpa is a spirit entity that appears real to the person who made it.
Okay.
And so it's the imagination puts it together.
It does. Your imagination, your thoughts and beliefs. If you consistently believe it's there, it will appear. You'll have an appearance, and it will seem real to you.
Same thing. Fascinating.
That's a homunculus. That's the second branch of alchemy. The other branch is called palingenesis, and that's called if you read about that, you'll read about the phoenix rose, and that's in Paracelsus, and Y.B. Yeats wrote about that. And basically what that is you burn up a rose, and then you make it appear in a vase as if it were alive. It gives, and this appearance, the appearance is not just seen by the person who is doing it, is seen by others as well, according to the literature that I've read about it. I've never been able to do this experiment. This is where we get into physical mediumship, see?
Yeah, exactly. That does sound like something a physical medium would do. Well, Jenny, we can't thank you enough for being on the show tonight. This has been so much fun. We learned so much listening to you speak with us. And again, everybody, the book is Spiritual Alchemy, Scrying, Spirit Communication, and Alchemical Wisdom by Jenny Tyson. We're going to post on our Facebook page so that you can reach Jenny if you want to communicate with her or be coached by her in any of your own spiritual alchemical adventures. So, Jenny, thank you so much. This has been great.
I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
A great show.
Yeah, and if you have
very
another
interesting.
book, you better get back with us. You can come back on again. Now, next week, everybody, we're doing animal communication, wild animal communication. It's going to be a great show. So everybody be sure to tune in. And until then, we're going to see you on the Blue Highway, right? So you take care. We will see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.